In this video, we're going to show you how to install the ABS speed sensor on your Cadillac Escalade located behind your front brake rotor. Start by raising the vehicle and supporting it properly. Then we're going to go ahead and start by removing our center cap. Then you want to go ahead and rotate the wheel until you can find the notch in the cap that lines up with the notch in the wheel. You can use a pry tool. We're going to simply use a flathead screwdriver to gently go in there and pry that out. Remove the center cap and set it aside. Using a 22mm socket, loosen and remove all of the lug nuts. With all the lug nuts removed, remove the wheel and set it aside. Let's go ahead and remove our caliper and bracket assembly. It's an 18mm bolt here and then one on the bottom right here. Now before we remove the upper bolt, you want to make sure that you have a heavy duty hanging tool, something like this here, because we're going to have to support and hang that up out of the way so we don't hang or let the caliper and bracket droop on the flex hose, which can damage this. And slide that off. You might have to wiggle it a little bit to get those brake pads to be free. I'm going to lift this up out of the way and use that hook to anchor it up above. Now, in our particular vehicle, there is a T30 Torx bit screw right here that holds the rotor to the wheel hub. Now, it's not necessary, and if your vehicle doesn't have it, that is okay. Ours does. We're going to use a T30 Torx bit and remove it. We can go ahead and grab that brake rotor and slide it off. Next up you want to do is make sure that the wheel hub surface is clean of any debris, rust, or anything like that. Use some brake solvent. Spray that down and use your bristle brush and get in around the ridge here. You want to make sure that the new brake rotor fits on there nice and flush without any type of interference. If it does not fit flush, it can cause a brake pulsation right out of the gate. If you do have scaly rust on there, it's okay to go ahead and use a flat file and clean it up the best you can. Now, once you're satisfied with the surface being all cleaned up, you want to go ahead and use some anti-seize compound. I just use a piece of trimmed cardboard. That way there it doesn't make a mess. Spray that on. It'll locate your ABS sensor. It's going to be right behind your brake rotor, attached to the wheel hub, and then the wire is going to come out and run up the backside of the knuckle. Now, there is a Torx bit screw right here. You need to loosen and remove. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and spray this down with a penetrant. Just kind of soak that. Going to let that soak for a little bit. I'm going to use a T30 Torx bit. I'm going to be careful not to strip that or break it off. Good, remove that screw and we'll set that aside. Now, the sensor itself inserts into a hole into the wheel bearing itself, and it should be able to pivot. So what we want to do is I'm going to spray this again. And I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver here, and I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to gently apply some pressure. You can see that it is moving. They don't always move that easily. Sometimes it could be stuck. In worst case, this will actually break off and it'll leave the sensor inside the bearing. If so, you just use a small drill bit and just gently work it a little bit until you can use a pick and work it out. I'm going to grab that wire and gently work that out and pop that out like so. There's a little gasket right here that is coming out with it. You can see that right there. I'm going to set that aside. Now if we follow this wire up, there's going to be a few different retainers here securing this to the top of the knuckle, and then it goes up to the top of the control arm, and then up to the connector up top. Let's go ahead and start to remove those. We're going to use our trim tool and just gently get behind there and simply pop that out. Now if we follow the wire up, you can use your trim tool right here, pop that out, and then up top is where the connector is. On our particular model, there is a zip tie or a plastic wire tie holding that in place. So we know someone's already been in here before. I'm going to cut that, discard that. Now that we have that separated, I'm going to use a small pocket screwdriver, and I'm going to go into the top section here and just lift up gently on the lock tab. And then with two hands, pop that out like that and remove the old sensor. Now if you want to, you can see on our particular model vehicle, the securing tape here is just crumbling apart. We want to go ahead and take care of the vehicle itself. If you want to, you can do this. It's not necessary. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap that. Now this doesn't have to be pretty. You do want to protect these wires, especially ABS. This is a major safety component on your vehicle. All right, install. Line up that sensor, push that on. You're gonna feel it and hear it clip into place. Give it a little tug. Now this alignment pin and a securing tab that goes right into this bracket here where the brake line attaches to. So go ahead and line that up. And we're gonna press that in. All right, so now that's secured, let's go ahead and continue to run this through. Press this tab into the bracket on the control arm. I'm going to take our wire. I'm going to feed the ABS sensor through the backing plate. I'm going to line that up. I'm going to insert that in. Now this bracket right here, I'll be able to spin this around, and this little clip is going to insert into this bracket. And just squeeze that into place. Now we can work on installing our sensor. There is a little rubber O-ring on here. All right, now that we have that recessed in, I'm just going to use my screwdriver and gently rotate this. Get that to line up for our bolt. Get our bolt started. I like to spin that in as far as I can by hand, and then we'll come back and snug that down. Ideally, you just want that to be snug. So once that bottom's down, give it a little bit more. There is a brass sleeve in there to prevent anything from cracking, so you just want that to be snug. Go ahead and grab your brake rotor, slide that on. You want to make sure that this recessed port or one of these ports lines up with the hole in the hub itself if you're going to be reusing that screw. Now once again, this isn't necessary. If you have it, use it. The purpose of it is strictly to hold the rotor onto the hub. It does make it easier when assembling the caliper and the bracket assembly. And just gently snug it down. Good, grab that caliper, bring that down. We can remove that support hook. Go ahead and slide this back over. We're going to get our upper bolt started here. Once you have the upper bolt done, makes it a lot easier to go ahead and get that lower one, line that up, and just slide this around until that bolt hole lines up. Get that started. Tighten them down. Torque down our caliper bracket bolts to 148 foot-pounds. Once you torque these down, we do recommend that you hop into the vehicle, pump up that brake pedal. Because the caliper has been compressed, you want to go ahead and make sure that that fluid comes back down and compresses the pistons back out. So it might take 3 to 4 full depressions to the floor. Make sure that pedal is nice and firm. Go ahead and install your wheel. I'm going to go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started, and then we'll come back and we'll zip those down. We want to tighten these down in a crisscross pattern. Torque down your lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. Be sure to do this in a crisscross pattern. Once you're done torquing the wheel, take the center cap, locate the notch in the cap, and line up with one of the notches in the wheels. Line up the cap, pop that on, and you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.